Monday morning. First installment of a day in the shop. A day in the shop number 1. Got a lot of stuff going on this morning. Actually, no, we don't. It's all leftovers. Got the coffee though, ready to go. Another car I was bidding on eBay. I didn't win it. Lost it by $100 because I'm not going to go any higher. Got a budget, so we're going to keep looking. I'm not sure what we're doing with this Mercedes. I think Joe did a fuel pump on it. Corvette's been here for a few weeks already, so I'm sure I'll get that any day. Joe's doing a tune-up on the Triton F-150. Oh, I got to look at the old Chevy K10 out there. Thanks for being here, guys. I hope you're having a great day. Let's get into the day. It's about time to fire this thing up and get this Colorado on the rack. I asked if they wanted to get the scope on this hub bearing, try to identify the problem for sure, but they'd have to pay additional labor for that. And they said, nope, throw a hub bearing in, it'll fix it. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Let's get this monstrosity. God, it still smells like someone killed a skunk in here. That's crazy. Seats are saturated with it. That's about the right distance, I think. Two of them are slightly different shades of silver versus chrome. And the hex is also slightly bigger on the actual screws. Oh, all wheel locks. I'm gonna find the key. Well, after an exhaustive search looking for the wheel lock key in the toolbox and all around the cubbies and the compartments and all of that stuff, I couldn't find it, so I said let me try a socket. It's a real cool lock set. The a 19mm socket fits on it, takes it off. All right, big giant monster truck wheels off, and oh, that's disheartening. That is disheartening. Someone's been doing some work on it. I think they put an axle in though. Hard to tell. No, that's an original axle. I don't know. All right, stop speculating. I'll just go ahead and, oh, you know what they did? They lifted it. That's why people were messing with it. All right, let's get this thing down here and tore out. I got a customer coming in at 10 o'clock waiting for suspension work that they sold on something on the alignment rack. So I got to get this thing done and out of here by 10 o'clock when the appointment comes in. Should I stop looking at it and talking about it? Uh-oh. I have to get the big guns out. Dang it. Alright, let's see if the big girl can do it. She's mean. She's a little mean. Oh, look at that thing. You can just feel the anvil must be like 3 times heavier. You just feel that big anvil smack against the bolt and spin it right out. Alright. Because of the big dumb lift kit, which you guys know how I feel about those by now, I got it jacked up as far as I can without it trying to lift off the lift. And it's got the axle in a bind pretty good. So I can't get a socket on here. I can't push the axle back enough. I can't push the axle back far enough to get a socket on it. So I'm going to use the old trusty Craftsman box wrench. Now this is I've had these a while. See? Forged in USA. So we'll see how this does. Hopefully it's got the knuts to do it. Might need to get my wrench extender. Alright. Gonna have to do all of these hub bolts by hand. That's gonna be fun. Woo. That's like a press, overhead press right there. You guys can't see what I'm doing, can you? Alright, this is gonna take a while. And we'll come back when I'm trying to see if it's frozen to the hub or not. Oh shit, that thing already popped out. Huh. Well, that's nice. Cars from Massachusetts, truck. Some people get mad if you use the wrong word. Oh, look at that. Ta-da! Parts changer, no scope needed. That's causing the drop to 0. Yes, sirree, Bob. Now I feel real good about taking a guess. They said up front, well, you're going to charge another hour to diagnose the hub bearing with a scope. Let's just put one in it and see what happens. I said, hey, you know, I got a YouTube channel over here, man. People are going to get mad. I said, well, that's what happens in real life. Show them that. So there you go. Boom. I'm not proud of it. I'd rather put a scope on it myself. I've also, some of these, if it wasn't lifted like this, when it's real easy, I'll just switch the bearing left to right. Of course, once I pulled this out and saw the reluctor magnet is broken, that's real simple. So I gotta let them know the other side will probably do it before long too. Let's get this thing in there and stop yapping. Phone's ringing. The phone is ringing. Oh my goodness. This is one of those things, those perfect examples of perception versus reality, and how you want to do things and how you have to do things. There's a lot of variables in our day. You know, all day we're dancing and trying to figure things out. So, and bolt holes aren't lining up. It looks like they should though. Alright, I feel like that. No, I feel like that. There you go. That worked alright. Icon Torx bit, Icon extension, Capri ratchet. Worked like a charm. I always take these sensors out so with the axle bouncing around in there, it doesn't break it. Especially, you know, obviously this one's separate from the hub. So you definitely want it out of your way. You're in there somewhere. Can't find the hole. I gotta put some hair around. There it is. There it is. I went and got our universal lock set. I'll show you what that looks like. Went ahead and got this Steelman Pro 78537. You can buy these on Amazon for about 70 or 80 bucks. You don't even need a wheel lock key. Just buy your own, and it fits like 90% of them. As long as it's not an OE one, because I definitely needed to put them back on, torque them correctly. Now I'm going to use the lift to hold it. I set it down enough to load the tire so I can torque it without it turning, and I'm using the lift to keep the vehicle from rocking back and forth. 103 foot-pounds. Of course, it's aftermarket hub bearing now. It's aftermarket wheel, it's aftermarket nuts. But factory specs are your default, so you're in the ballpark. You're good. Now I'm going to change it to 185 for the axle nut. There you go. All right, now we're going to mess with the headlights a little bit on this monstrosity, aka monster truck. What I'm going to do here is I took all the electrical tape off, the custom connector stuff, and got a patch here I don't really like. There's a connector inside there, it feels like. But I'm just going to unplug the aftermarket stuff and plug in a factory bulb and see if it works. If it works, then we're going to take the headlight out because they've got some custom drilling and modification of the lens assembly, housing assembly. So I got to figure out how bad they boogered it up. He wants to just go back to stock rather than replacing the aftermarket stuff with more aftermarket stuff. Someone's got a little too much dielectric grease in there, but that's alright. That doesn't seem right. That's a wide pin connector, and this headlight is a narrow connector. Well, the deeper I dig, the more stuff I see. There's the HID bulb. Put that in a pile with the other stuff. There's the original connector that they bypassed. Looks like it's getting a little hot, but not too bad. The problem is there's a factory connector in here. And the reason this connector is different is because they ran all this custom wiring. I was assuming this was the factory connector and they messed with something here. And then a quick little look and I'm like, well, it's grounded right there. So they're using a wire that activates something from the fuse box when the headlights are turned on to turn on the HIDs. So they've completely dismantled the factory headlight system because they wanted HIDs really bad apparently. Anyway, let's plug in the stock bulb to the correct connector down here. It looks a little bit sketchy. We'll see if the pin fits good. Pop a bulb in there and see if it works. I gotta figure out what they did with the wiring too. I might have to unwire the custom wiring. I don't know why people can't leave stuff alone. Just get LED bulbs, but I don't know. Not my truck, whatever. Alright, I put the headlights on, plugged in that bulb, and it works. So I wonder if they messed with the wiring. Do the same thing on this side, pop that crap out of there. Then you'll have a cool pile of stuff you can sell on eBay for $11 or something. This wiring I'll probably pull out of there just so someone doesn't wonder what's going on down the road like I'm doing. That's interesting. Cap's not really on right. Drilled holes in it and stuff. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, there you go. Man, what could go wrong? Oh, that's where they're getting the power from out of this. Oh, this thing's gonna work good. They had the wire right to the positive battery post, so I went ahead and took that off. Once I plugged this into the factory bulb, this thing's good. You get all this hodgepodge of aftermarket goodness over here in the pile with the rest. When I used to ride Harleys before the traffic got crazy in this area, I was talking to the salesman about making my Harley unique, and he said if you want to make it unique, leave it stock. I hadn't even thought of that. You know, people spend thousands and thousands of dollars modifying them, and every time a friend or somebody I would be riding with would break down, it would be because of the aftermarket stuff they put on them. So people think Harleys are junk, but the stock ones don't give you trouble. Not normally. Like anything else, occasionally they break. Anyway, this thing's almost done. We'll go for a drive, show you guys how it went. The ears in these caps are offset, so if you don't have all 5 ears in the right place, it won't let you put all 5 in and lock it down. It'll be crooked like it was, but it doesn't really matter. There's a big hole in the back of it anyway. Maybe I'll put a piece of tape over that so I feel a little better about it. Oh, that is nice. That original bulb was no good. Kind of a weird looking bulb, giant marker bulb. Goes in either way. Housing is just held in with 2 Phillips screws. It's got some pins going to body. And 2 Phillips screws over here. GM knows they can't make their electrical systems the greatest. They got a lot of little electrical problems like sockets and things like that on these. But at least they make them easy to get in and out. So we're gonna verify a repair. Boom. Pump my brake pedal back up. I always push the pistons back on the caliper to make it a little easier to get on and off the rotor while I'm working on it. So make sure we don't get any ABS lights or ABS stops. And this thing will be fixed. And I'm 100% positive it's fixed. This is one of those things where you need to know the proper way to diagnose these kinds of problems, and as you learn and gain experience, then you'll be able to save yourself a lot of time. It's not parts changing when it's an hour labor to change a part, and you could spend 3 hours hooking up stuff and testing and scoping things. It's more cost effective sometimes to put a part on, see if it fixes it. If it doesn't, take it back off. That is part of our business. Whether people like it or not, that's a different story. And working on flat rate, you're trying to hustle and get as much done as you can, right? If they wanted us to be perfect, they'd put us on salary, but they put you on flat rate and hold you responsible for it. So that's how it works. Anyway, this is fixed, guys. This truck is all done. I'm gonna drive it a little further right after I finish this waiting customer's BMW. All right, Chevys and BMWs apparently today. This is the one that had the leaking bushing from last week. He came back to get the bushing replaced. So we're gonna see how it goes. I told him to get the arm, but they don't like to do it my way, so we might have to press this bushing. Let's see. All right, I got the coil in this thing. We'll put some carb cleaner in there. See if she fires up. Now it should have spark. It had a good pulse and no spark, so now we should be good, I think. I'm not sure if it even has gas in it or what the gas tank looks like, but there you go. Ta-da! Look at that thing, huh? You guys jealous? It runs. Piece of cake. The only thing was the problem on this is getting up there to work all the way back there. So here's my handy little step. Rested on the old gut. Built that belly 12 ounces at a time to make sure it's strong. On to the next car. I think my transmission's here for the Tahoe. Oh, that looks pretty, doesn't it? They didn't put the converter in for us. I guess I'll have to put that in myself. Good thing I'm a transmission certified mechanic. Prepping this transmission for install. And I'm even going to take the advice of my transmission experts and use the aligning hole instead of the larger 2 holes to start the boats. Ooh, should speed up the process, but let's see. Somehow this thing got really high too. I got to lower it down. Some tall guy was messing with my lift. Put the dipstick all the way in until you get the tranny stud in that it goes on. But you get it close. Uh-oh, I just realized I kept my tranny mount. That's terrible news. We'll make sure the fuel line bracket doesn't get caught between the bell housing and the motor. That's the top bolt where the vent bracket gets bolted to. That's basically the only one that's really hard to get in. The rest of the bell housing bolts go right in. Make sure the flare and the dipstick tubes all the way down. These aren't all the way in. The plastic retainers won't snap over them if they're not all the way seated, because the spring will be pushed out a little bit so they won't fit over. If they don't fit over, give the tube another shove. I wanted to mention too that in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I had to put the converter in this tranny. I didn't get to film that, but it clicks in like 3 times by the time it's all the way back. And you'll have a pretty good gap to the bell housing. You see that in the other direction. There you go. That's the specific engineering measurement back from the bell housing. About 1 inch. If you don't see that, then the tranny's not going to sit up flush against the block. If the tranny doesn't want to go flush against the block, the converter's not seated all the way. Don't force it because you'll damage the pump. Just wanted to mention it in case you haven't seen any of my other installation videos. 3 torque converter bolts. And we're going good here. Just get you guys on the ratchet cam a little bit here. You want these pretty tight. The old Tecton ratchet on there. Spin her around to the last hoe. 3 hoes ought to satisfy any man. Ugh. Look at that. Last hoe. All right. She's tight. Now, don't want to forget your little splash shield. It's a little starter, and it's still doesn't really like to fit back in on these. I always have a little trouble getting it back in the hole. It's kind of big. So you got to kind of really force it. A little bit of lubricant on there or whatever, it goes right in. And that's mostly just holding your tongue right. It's not so much that you put lubricant on it. Make sure the starter bolts are started by hand, as always. Whew. There's not a lot of room for thick sockets on these, on that rear bolt. See what I mean? I mean, that's a pretty thin impact socket too. If you got any really thick sockets, you're not going to get in there. You need a chrome. But these impacts are pretty good. These are Sunex, and they fit pretty good. Not too crazy thick. All right, training shop kept my training mount for sure. We can't find it anywhere. So now I'm going back on the BMW. I didn't realize that customer had a 10 o'clock appointment this morning. It's starting out to be one of those weeks. I hope it's only this day. I hope it's only Monday. Maybe by tomorrow everything is going to turn around and go the other direction. Look, he's in silent mode. Wonder why he's in silent mode, going through traffic with his lights on. No sirens. Late for a date. Let me get you a little bracket bolt on there. And that's about it. Once I get the once I get my little training mount in, I'm gonna put the exhaust in while I'm waiting too. The BMW parts are gonna be here any second. That's an emergency. He's been waiting all day. I got to get the arm on and align it tonight. This is gonna have to wait for tomorrow for the exhaust and the cross member. All right, new arms in. It's not slotted or anything like that. The nut is welded to the frame. And in the ball joint, you got to use a Torx bit to keep it from turning. I use my Icon Torx while I turn the nut 21 millimeter. And the Icon Torx I used was this one right here. I can't get it off. T30. T30 keeps the stud from turning. Alright. Everything's all good. Cooler lines, exhaust, 402 sensor connectors, everything plugged back in where it goes. Made a little mess flushing the tranny cooler lines and shot it all over myself, but I think I got cleaned up pretty good now. New tranny mounts in. Drive shaft still leaking from where it was overfilled before. Alright, I'll load this thing down, put some fluid in it. Probably gonna drive it in the morning though. This transmission looks like it was completely dry. Probably only have a quart or so in the valve body or whatever, but put a quart in the torque converter ahead of time because that looked like it was almost dry, only had a little fluid. And I'm going to put about 6 in the transmission. It'll be safe to start it. I'll probably have to add a couple more quarts. Because there was no dipstick or plug in the dipstick grommet, so they couldn't have any fluid. It would splash out when they drove it here in the back of a pickup truck. Don't want to overfill that big funnel. Then I'm going to fire it up before I add any more. Well, that's it. My first day in the shop. Monday, it's over. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Make sure you torque that like button at the bottom of your screen, by the way. And maybe subscribe if you want to see more automotive repair related content, some tool review content, and videos where I combine the two. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. You guys are awesome. See you next time.